Guys, what guys? Carolina Jack. Blah, blah, blah. Good morning, guys. Carolina Jackpot coming at you on Friday morning. This is the week number 6 picks against the spread for the 2020 season. I'm going to jump into these with both feet real quick and see how we're going to do in these 20 games that I have on our docket for the picks against the spread. Thing to remember this weekend. And a lot of the games are going to be played down here in the deep south and kind of in the lower southwest portion of the country there. Could be affected by rains from Hurricane Delta, which is, I think, supposed to make landfall at some point today, I believe. In fact, the LSU at Missouri game is at Missouri because it was moved from LSU due to Hurricane Delta. That game was originally scheduled for Baton Rouge. Now it's going to be played in Columbia, Missouri. So let's jump into these with both feet. Louisville on the road at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is catching 4.5 at home against Louisville. Both these teams, if you look at them, a lot of turnovers between both these teams, and quarterbacks throwing a lot of interceptions through the first few weeks of the season here. I don't think that Louisville has kind of disappointed a little bit. They've dropped a couple of games, and people kind of expected that maybe they might be the second best team in the ACC. Not seeing it so far. I think they might get grounded a little bit in this game. It's a Friday night game. You would expect them to be able to whip up on Georgia Tech here. But, Friday night games are a little bit kooky sometimes. So I'm going to go with the home team, the Yellow Jackets, here to cover the spread against Louisville. I think that you might want to sprinkle a little bit on the money line on that one. You might take the win. South Carolina on the road at Vanderbilt tomorrow. South Carolina laying 12 on the highway in Nashville. Look, I'm not going to make any bones about it, and this is not a homer pick. I just think South Carolina is a better team. We are 0-2. We sit here, a lot of unrest in the fan base, and rightfully so, with our head coach and coaching staff, with just stupid, boneheaded decisions that have cost us points and cost us possibly the game in a couple of situations this year. I'm not happy either, but it is what it is. They're not going anywhere, at least not right now. And one of the guys from Las Vegas said he feels like South Carolina is the best 0-2 team in the nation. And I feel that way too. And a lot of this unrest in the fan base is a little bit unwarranted to me at this point in time. Because of the fact that, you just went on the road to a team that, whether you believe it or not, they all were ranked number 3 in the country, okay? And maybe Tennessee's a little bit better than I gave them credit for. So it's not like you went out there like you're Kansas and you're losing 47-7 in both your games and just not even showing up. They've been competitive. Jesus Christ, where were you last year when South Carolina was losing to Appalachian State and was losing to UNC in Game 1? That's where I was most vocal. I'm not as much vocal right now as I was then. Anyway, South Carolina will go on the road and get this win. Vanderbilt, they start a true freshman quarterback. He's thrown like 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Maybe we can make that like 6 interceptions after this weekend. Defensive backfield will come to play a little bit more so than what they have. Get some pressure on this guy. I think we should have a big day running the football. Vanderbilt is decent defensively, but I don't think they'll be able to hold up past the first string. All right, enough about that. Pittsburgh on the road at Boston College. Boston College is a 6-point underdog at home to Pitt. I'm going to take BC in this one. In my pick'em challenge with my friends, I took Pitt because that was only a 4.5-point line there at 6 here. This is one of those ACC games that it could go either way. These teams, they don't follow any kind of certain pattern to me. And nobody, it's only like 2 or 3 teams in that conference every year that really stand out. And neither of these stand out to me. BC played pretty well last week against North Carolina. They had a chance to win that game. It was a freakish play on a 2-point conversion there at the end. The guy intercepted and returned back for a safety, and they lost by 4. And they are at home. Pittsburgh, they can't run the football. They can't run the football, and that's what their problem has been. I think this may be kind of a low-scoring affair, and I think Pittsburgh is probably the better team, top to bottom. But I think BC is very well coached, and it could go either way. But still, give me Boston College to cover at any rate. Virginia Tech on the road at UNC. UNC's laying 4.5 at home to the Hokies. I'm going to go with UNC here. I think it's time for Sam Howell and company to kind of come out of the shell a little bit. I haven't really produced like I thought they would this year. You know, we thought they were going to throw up 40-plus points a game. Yeah, it's still early for them. They've only played 2 games. Well, they haven't looked great. Virginia Tech, to their credit, has played very well, despite the fact they've had a lot of coronavirus issues. I think maybe that kind of may have an effect this week. You know, they played a lot of games in a few weeks here. And UNC, the more rested team, I think the more the practice team. And this is a home game for them. There won't be any fans here, but I'm taking UNC in this one. Texas on the road, or in the Cotton Bowl game against Oklahoma. Red River shootout, rivalry, whatever you want to call it. Oklahoma laying 2.5 here. I think the wrong team is favored here. Both of them, I guess you could say, have been kind of disappointing this year. Oklahoma already with 2 losses, and Texas has lost 1 game. You got a couple of wins there under your belt, and then you lost last week to TCU. I'm going to take Texas in this one. I just think the team with the more experienced and better at this point quarterback is going to win this football game, and that would be Texas. Oklahoma, still has a lot to prove there. Got a lot to prove, so you could go and take that situationally too, and say, well, Oklahoma has been punched in the mouth twice. Maybe they come, off the mat here against their rival. But I think that a team with a more solid quarterback, I think Texas is a little bit better. Even though the scoreboard hasn't really shown it, I still think that they're better defensively than what Oklahoma is, or what they have shown. Texas gave up a ton of points the other week to, Texas Tech. But I think that was more just a product of playing Texas Tech. I mean, they're just going to play you into that type of situation. Give me the Longhorns here. LSU at Missouri. LSU is a 14-point favorite on the road. They were a 20.5-point favorite at home before this game was moved. This one is kind of tough, but I am going to go with my gut here. I'm going to take the Mizzou Tigers to cover the spread. I think the stress of having to move a game right in the middle of the week and run off to Columbia, Missouri on an airplane may have a little bit of an effect on LSU here. It may have a little bit of an effect on them. They had a good showing last week. I mean, albeit was at Vanderbilt after week 1. But after what I saw still from week 1, I still don't trust them. Of course, LSU is kind of been splitting time between a dual threat quarterback, Sean Robinson, and a red shirt freshman named Connor Blazak, I think is his name. Got a couple of capable running backs there. They have some decent players on defense along the lines of scrimmage. They are lacking a little bit, but so is LSU. They've lost a lot of talent, of course, in the NFL. They lost some to opting out, and I think they go on the road here, and I think this is a game that's a lot closer than what most people are thinking it's going to be. LSU is another team, or Missouri is another team that's hungry to have a decent performance after really playing bad last week at Tennessee. They had a lot of drop passes and stuff that can be corrected. Florida at Texas A&M. Texas A&M 6.5-point underdog at home. You call me crazy in this one. I'm going to take Texas A&M to cover the number here in this one. That could be an upset special too. Florida's defense is suspect, and we know that Kellen Mond is a good athlete. He's a good quarterback. Hasn't looked good this year for whatever reason. It's time for him to finally have a breakout game here somewhere. They're sitting here at they're 1-1, right? And their one win wasn't impressive. They were ranked really high in the preseason, and for some reason, people had them ranked some highly. They like to throw the ball to the tight end a lot. They have a capable running back, Isaiah Spiller. They did lose the best wide receiver they had to opting out because of the coronavirus. But they have a couple that have stepped up in their place. And I like the way they punched Alabama in the mouth last week after being down 14-0. They came back and made that a little bit of a slugfest for at least one of the first half. And then, Alabama dominated. People kind of looked at that final score and don't really realize that even happened. But I'm going to take Texas A&M here to cover. I think that they'll be able to put some points up on Florida. I think Florida puts some points up on them. And you'll see a high-scoring game here. Barring weather issues, if you don't have too much rain there, slow this game down too much, I think you could see a boat race on both sides of the ball. NC State on the road at Virginia. NC State's is catching 9, right, on the road. Another one kind of tough to call. I think overall Virginia may be the better team. We've seen more from NC State, though. Their quarterback has kind of come into his own, looking decent here. They got a big road win last week against Pittsburgh. And this could be a situation where they have a bit of a letdown. Virginia's coming off a loss, 41-23, at the Clemson Taters. I'm going to take NC State, though, to cover here and keep this one around the touchdown. I think Virginia will probably win this game, but give me NC State to cover. Keep it a little closer than 9 points. I think actually the line on this one has dropped down somewhat already, so a lot of people are probably thinking along the same lines as myself. Duke on the road at Syracuse. Syracuse 2.5-point home underdog to Duke. This is a game that opened up as a pick'em. Both teams are, I think, 0-3, 0-4. I think Syracuse is 0-3 and Duke's 0-4. But Duke's played a little bit better the past couple of weeks, or at least last week they played better. And they were in a position. It was 2 weeks ago. For some reason, my timeline's off here. The week they played Virginia, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, they had in that ball game going into the fourth quarter, 2017, and they ended up losing it 38-20, and that was because of turnovers. Now, last week, they lost at home 38-31 to Virginia Tech. They did cover the spread, though. The spread was 10.5 points, and I didn't think they would cover it. They did, though, and I said if they covered the spread, it would be because they didn't turn the ball over. Well, they only turned it over one time, and a real close game against a pretty good Hokie team at home. Syracuse is a team that's been kind of hard to figure out this year. They did get a 37-20 win over Georgia Tech their last time out. Georgia Tech, ton of turnovers in that ball game. So I think Duke's playing a little bit smarter right now. And I think they're the better team. And I look for them to get their first win of the season on the road at Syracuse. In this situation, give me Duke. I think they win and cover. Be by at least 3 points to a touchdown. Texas Tech on the road at Iowa State. 12.5-point underdog to the Cyclones at home. Going to level with you. Some of these Big 12 teams and these matchups, I'm not as educated on them as I am on the ACC and the SEC and that type of stuff, just simply because of geography. But if I were looking at this one, I would go with Texas Tech and the high-powered offense to keep this one close. I know they had an injury to the quarterback, Alan Bowman. But he should be back for this game, according to what I've seen there. Iowa State, another team up and down, lost to Louisiana Lafayette. They've beaten Oklahoma. So I think that Matt Campbell has a good football team there. I think they will probably end up getting the win here at home, but I'll look for Texas Tech to keep it close, and you'll see some scoring in this one. UTSA on the road at BYU. BYU is laying 35 points at home in Provo. against UT San Antonio. Now UT San Antonio, a decent little team, and their quarterback, I believe his name is Frank Harris, who was kind of a dual threat guy. He was injured a couple of weeks ago, but he'll be back for this game. And last week BYU it was a 45-14 win, I think, over Louisiana Tech on Friday night. They've just been putting up points like crazy. And this is one of those games where, I think they could beat UT San Antonio by 45, 50 points if they wanted to. I'm not sure they will. They may call the dogs off, may put up some backups in here to get some time. Or, UTSA could give them a run for their money. It's one of those situations that you really don't know a lot about because these teams, they don't have a history with each other. I'm going to take the Roadrunners to cover the spread and keep this one under the 35 points. If it's a blowout, I could see BYU, like I said, pulling some starters out and trying to get some other guys some reps in there. Maybe UTSA comes in with the back door. With a starting quarterback back with a team that is pretty decent for what they are, and they're much improved from what they have been in the past. I like the Roadrunners here on the road. Kansas State on the road at TCU. Kansas State quarterback's injured. They're due for what did they do last week? They had a decent win at home last week against Texas Tech. They've also beaten Oklahoma. I look for them here to cover this number on the road. They're that with the coach they've got now, Chris Kleiman. They're like 10-4 in Big 12 play, from what I heard, against the number. And TCU had that big win over Texas last week. You could see them let off the gas and have a little bit of a disappointing performance this week. So I'm going to take K-State. Arkansas on the road at Auburn. Auburn is laying 13.5 at home against Arkansas. I'm going to go with the home team, Auburn here. I still think they've got the better quarterback. I think they've got the better players. Arkansas did get that big win last week, and congratulations to them. First SEC win since 2017. And I figured that it was going to happen this year. I didn't think it was going to happen this early. I honestly thought it was going to happen against Tennessee on Halloween. But, of course, none of that schedule is a moot point at this particular time. As you all know, that's when the game was originally scheduled. Auburn, bad performance last week offensively, or was it the fact that Georgia's defense was just that dang good? I think it's a combination of both. However, I think they rebound and get the win here against Arkansas at home and cover the 13.5. They've dominated Arkansas the past few years, and I look for them to get the win here. Alabama on the road at Ole Miss. Should be a fun matchup. Should see some points scored here. I think Ole Miss will keep it closer than this 24 points. Last week, it was a 28-point win that Bama had against Texas A&M. So I'm going to take the underdog here and the home team to cover. One interesting thing of note here, when these teams like Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson and teams like that are playing on the road, sometimes they're more likely to cover numbers because they're not allowed to take as many players, right? And you see these teams at home, they'll pull starters out in the third quarter and start getting some second and third team guys, a whole lot of reps in there, and then kind of maybe leaves the back door open a little bit. But on the road, you're normally just playing your first and second team guys because you got 11 first teamers on offense and defense, so that's 22, and 11, which is 44 total there on your first and second string. Then you got like 8 guys on special teams, and you're only allowed to take, I think, like 64, 65 players. So that doesn't leave, the remainder for a whole lot of other guys to go on the travel squad. So you're more likely to see those teams cover those big numbers on the road. But here, in this situation, I think it's a little bit different. I see Ole Miss here keeping this one a little bit closer than the 24-point number. I think they probably lose by about 3 touchdowns. Marshall at Western Kentucky. Marshall is laying 6.5 on the highway in Bowling Green. This number's got me a little bit confused. I think that Marshall is a much better team than Western Kentucky, and I'm kind of confused as why the number is so low there. This is one of those weird lines that you're like, they know something is up. I think it's been actually bet up to 7 points here. So I guess, call me guilty of taking the bait, but I guess I'm going to do it here. I'm going to take Marshall to cover the spread. And I haven't seen them out in a while. Have they played at all since they beat App State? I don't think they have. So they should be rested and ready to go here. Western Kentucky, last time out, I believe they lost. They're 2-1, I think, or they're 1-2. I can't remember. I know they've lost to Louisville, but anyway, I think Marshall's just a much better team than Western Kentucky. I do know what their games are. I can't think early this morning who they've played so far this year, other than Louisville. Mississippi State on the road at Kentucky. Kentucky's laying 2 at home. I tell you, I wouldn't even bet this game if I was you. I wouldn't even mess with this line here. It's just Mississippi State is going to have a kind of dynamic there that Kentucky is really not used to seeing. Last game out, they were disappointing. Kentucky ended up being, you said that, well, they're disappointing because they go, but, were they really? Because if they had won that game against Ole Miss, which they certainly could have done, had they kicked that extra point and made it, sent it to a second overtime, they were at home. Home team, I think, in that kind of situation would clearly have the momentum. I think they would have won that ball game. So coming off that, Mississippi State comes in here. Kentucky reeling a little bit, showed a little bit of susceptibility, and there's a little bit of parallels between Lane Kiffin's squad and Mike Leach's team, offensively anyway. So I'm going to take Mississippi State here. Mississippi State to cover the number at Kentucky and get a win there. Kentucky's another team. Kind of like Louisville. They're supposed to be really impressive, but they just haven't shown it to me yet this year. They have not shown it to me yet. Miami on the road at Clemson. Clemson is laying 14 at home. In my pick'em challenge, the line's 15.5, and I took Miami. I'm going to take Miami here. I think they keep this game closer than that 14. I think they realize this is a huge opportunity for them. I think they make the most of it. Clemson has not been a good second half team this year, and they have not covered the spread at all this year, Vegas-wise. They have not in any of their three wins. They have not. They've not covered the number. So it's Miami for me here, or nothing. I want to take the Hurricanes. I like the De'Aaron King. He's got 700-something yards passing. Trevor Lawrence, 800-something yards passing. But, De'Aaron King also didn't play the Citadel. And, you haven't seen, Travis Etienne, they haven't really needed him a lot this year. He has less yards rushing than what Miami's running back Cameron Harris has. But then again, they haven't had to have it. I haven't seen their backup, Lynn J. Dixon, do a whole lot this year. Not sure if there's been an injury issue with him there or not. Clemson's looked pretty solid defensively, though. But this is an offense, the likes of which they have not seen this year. So give me the Hurricanes. FSU at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is 21.5-point favorite at home. I have no reason to bet with the underdog in this game. I'm not sure where Mike Norvell is and dealing with the coronavirus stuff. I know he was not there a couple of weeks ago when they played Miami and got blown out. They did get a win against an FCS team, Jacksonville State, last week, but they had to come from behind to do that. They did find a quarterback, though. They replaced James Blackman at quarterback with the young kid, Jordan Travis. So I think that was probably a good move. I think that Blackman's he's overstayed his welcome as far as the quarterback position there for a couple of years. I think they just didn't have anybody any better to plug in his place. Now I think they're ready to build on that, but they're not gonna. This game is not going to be close. Notre Dame way too good on both sides of the ball. They'll take care of Florida State. I'm not picking them to cover a number again until they prove to me that they can do so. Tennessee at Georgia. Tennessee is a 12.5-point underdog. I think weather's going to be an issue here. I think it's going to slow the game down somewhat. You're going to see a game here where not a lot of points are scored. You could probably bet on the under if you do the over-under on the point totals thing. Just for some reason, I like Tennessee in this ball game to cover against Georgia. That's not the way that the money's going on most of them. Most people are taking Georgia to win by 17 points plus or in that range. I think the Vols will keep this one closer. I think that they feel they have something to prove. Georgia, a big win last week, but they were up 27-6. They didn't score in the second half. That game ended up the same. Or maybe they kicked a field goal in the second half. At any rate, it seems like they kind of took their foot off Auburn's throat after halftime and just didn't have that killer instinct to put them away there. Maybe they come out a little bit flat in this game, and we see Tennessee take an early lead, and Georgia has to battle back. I still think ultimately Georgia will win this game. However, if Tennessee is able to pull it off, it wouldn't shock me. Okay, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing I've ever seen in my life. But I'm going to take the underdog Vols here to cover the number. And Charlotte on the road at North Texas. North Texas 3-point underdog at home. North Texas has lost to Southern Miss got blown out by SMU a few weeks ago. Charlotte is an up-and-coming team. They had a close win last week. I think they're just a better team. They're better coached. And I'm going to take Charlotte 49ers here to go get this big win on the road in Conference USA play against the North Texas Mean Green, North Texas Eagles, whatever you want to call them. They got several different names. All right, guys. That's it. That's my picks against the spread for week number 6. If you notice here, I bet on a lot of underdogs here. And there's kind of a method to that. 65% of the underdogs have covered in college football this year. So if you did nothing but blindly bet underdogs, you would be a very rich person right now. But in all situations, it doesn't play out like that. But just overall this year, that's how it's been. That's how it's played out. As far as underdogs covering, I think a lot of that has to do with the crowd and no crowds and no fans. It's definitely had a lot to do with the underdogs covering numbers this year. All right, guys, that's picks against the spread for week number 6 of the college football season. We'll see if I can rebound. Had a bad week last week. Looking to have a good one this time out, and I hope you all do as well. I'll see you guys later. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed the content here, please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate it. Peace.